Welcome back everybody, this is Ways back with another video on the channel. Today we are going to learn Webstorm for Angular developers. Recently I created Angular crash course, which a lot of people liked, so I thought I would show them how to use Webstorm to do the Angular development in a way which helps me to write code faster and better code. Also, Webstorm is a great IDE built by JetBrains, and it has a lot of cool features for Angular development. I want to mention that I also use VS Code, which is another very popular text editor / IDE. But when you're writing code professionally, there are some features that Webstorm provides out of the box, which are really good and will help you to fast track your development. So in this video, we talk about project setup, Webstorm user interface, and shortcuts. I'm really heavy on shortcuts because when I'm using Webstorm, I tend to not touch my mouse at all, which basically helps me to write code faster and not be able to reach to the mouse and then click on particular button or somewhere in Webstorm, which wastes time. So that's a very important section. Then I'll talk about Angular schematics and dependencies in Webstorm, snippets and live templates, NPM scripts, especially debugging is another very important thing. A lot of people, when they're writing Angular code, they usually go and debug in a Chrome browser, which I think not ideal, because if you can use all those shortcut keys to, monitor your code running in a Chrome and also debug them with just shortcut keys, it's going to fast track your development. Webstorm is a complete IDE which offers everything that you need for web development. So we have a Git. Basically, it's a version control system, and if you're a developer, you should know what Git is. So we'll take a look at how we use Git in Webstorm by using shortcut keys, obviously. Then there are some services that I'll talk about which will help you to write code faster as well. So without further ado, let's get started with Webstorm with Angular in mind. Let's start by setting up Angular project in Webstorm. And here's a welcome window for Webstorm when you start it for the first time. Or if you've already started, you'll see your recent projects here. Here's a menu bar that you can go and take a look at your project, customize plugins, and you can also learn about Webstorm. Okay, so let's start by creating a new project. So if you click on new project, you get to see this Angular CLI. You click on that and then select the location for the project and then node version. And then Angular CLI will run this npx -- package, Angular CLI ng command, and will set up a project for you. So we can create a new project with that, but most likely you're going to have an existing project that you will open in Webstorm. So that's why I'm going to use this ng tutorial project that I just created. I'm going to click on that and just take this project as your existing project. So I don't really have anything in this project, just one component and the module. And this is how your Webstorm is going to look like. Well, not really. First of all, we are going to go to this preference. So I click here and you go to this preference button, click on that, and you're going to go to plugins. And in the marketplace section here, you'll go to theme. And I have installed this theme called OneDark theme. This is what I'm using. Also, not just themes, you can actually install all sort of plugins. This is like the marketplace for plugins in Webstorm. Now we'll learn one thing. How do we install plugins? This is how you install plugins. Go to preferences, go to marketplace, and you get to see all the plugins available for IntelliJ platform. Let's talk about user interface on Webstorm. So on the left, you can see this window. Now, if we go to view and you take a look at these tool windows, and in Webstorm, we have different types of windows like terminal, project, structure, Git, run, debug, problems, and so on. We take a look at this Git window later when we talk about Git integration with Webstorm, but now we are looking at this project window. Okay. And also we have this terminal. So I'm gonna trigger a terminal by using a shortcut key command 0, and that's a built-in terminal available. That's very handy if you wanna use terminal right in the folder of your project. Then you can just use command, or you can set up your command. Right now I've set up this command 0, so that's easily helped me to switch on terminal and turn it off as well. So take a look at these tool windows. are really, really helpful. I'm not going to spend time on this. One of the other one is Structure. Now, the way I navigate between these two windows is by using shortcut keys. I don't want to go and spend time, click on this view tool window, and then switch on this. Now, on the side, you can see I've got some shortcut keys set up. For example, if I want to hide the project window, I'll just press the shortcut key and I can just hide it or turn it back on. For the Structure, I have the shortcut key as well. Terminal, I have the shortcut key for that. For the database, I do have shortcut key for that as well. So yeah, shortcut keys are great in Webstorm. Let's learn how to set up shortcut keys in Webstorm. Very, very important. So the common way is to go to Preferences. I'm going to go to Preferences by using shortcut key, which is Command, comma. Now you got to go to Key Map. And in Key Map, you will see all kind of shortcut keys that you can set up. So first of all, I will show you how to set up shortcut keys for tool windows. So I'll go to Tool Windows and you'll see all my shortcut keys on the right. And you can set up those here. So basically, let's say if you want to set up a shortcut key for GraphQL, double click on that and they'll give you options for adding a keyboard shortcut, mouse shortcut, or abbreviation. So you can set up mouse shortcut or keyboard shortcut as well. Second scenario could be you want to set up a shortcut key which has a shortcut key already. For example, if you want to set up a shortcut key for this project tool window, I'll have to search for it and then double click on it and then change it. Right? But what you can do is click on this little button here, click on that, and then type the shortcut key. I'm going to press Command 1, and that'll navigate me to the option which has this shortcut key. So right now you can see, let me zoom out a bit. Yep, that's better. So you can see that I can trigger the tool window, project tool window with this shortcut key, but also I have this home directory and send to left with the same shortcut key. So yeah, you can basically take a look at which shortcut key is assigned to which options by just tapping the shortcut key. You can also set up these key map profiles. Right now you can see I have this set up as OS Mac, but you could actually use some shortcut keys from other IDEs like NetBeans or IntelliJ Classic, Emacs, or Visual Studio. So if you're coming from some other IDE, you want their shortcut keys, you can switch between them very, very easily. But I actually have my own workflow, which I'm going to talk more about in this video. So that's the shortcut key one way. But for example, I am going to show you one command which you're going to use like 99% in your, in a career with Webstorm writing code, right? So a lot of times you are going to basically perform some actions in your code. And Webstorm allows you to do that by using this Command Shift A. This is a default shortcut key if you're using Webstorm right now, but I have set up that option A. Now, this window has all classes, files, symbols, and actions. Actions are basically everything that you do in Webstorm. For example, if I want to close this file, I'll type close, and here it'll give me an option to close the file. So I'll say close file. Now it's not giving me close file option, but it's giving me this close project option. Let's say if I want to open database, so I'll type data, and here is a database. I'll press enter, and you will see database tool window just appeared. If I want to set up a Git repository or Git command, I'll use this actions and I'll say Git, and here you have this Git. Okay. Now this is great, but a lot of times you want to use actions. For example, git pull, push, and there's a lot of action. For example, if we go and rename the file, I'll go and let's press options and I'll say rename. And you can see it says rename file, enter, and that'll give you this window. So actions are great. Now, sometimes you have an action, but you want to set up a shortcut key for that. For example, let's take a look at an action for something like terminal. Okay. And I have this shortcut key command 0, but let's say I want to add another shortcut key on the top of that. So what I'll do, I will press option return. You can see here it says option return to assign a shortcut key. Option return, and that will give me this window, which I can set up a shortcut key for that particular action. You'll be seeing me using a lot of actions in the, my previous program videos when I use Webstorm. So actions are great. Set up a shortcut key for actions itself, which you can do by going to this preference window and searching for actions. and you will see an actions which you can actually, I want to find that action shortcut key. So press this keyboard and then press this. Here's the one, find action. That's the setup that you want to do. So I have this option A setup. Now you're gonna need that, and it is similar as VS Code. So if I do Command Shift P, that'll allow me to find actions and perform commands. That's just a reference if you're coming from VS Code. So that's the shortcuts in basically in Webstorm. And I have set up shortcuts keys for pretty much everything. For example, one instance I'm going to give you, okay? I go to project, I'll make it active, and I'm going to press Command Shift right arrow. You can see I can increase or decrease a window by shortcut. If I open terminal, I can increase or decrease its window. Okay. If I open a new file like that, I can switch between different, files, and I can close the files, and I can switch between files like, tabs. So here we got 3 files open. Let me open a couple more files. Let's open that file as well, test file. So if you want to switch between files, I have this set up as control page up and page down when I use a full size keyboard. Otherwise, this Command Shift left bracket and right bracket. So you can see you can switch between files very, very easily. Let's talk more about now Angular specific things. Then we'll come back to Webstorm, how we use it more efficiently in terms of user interface. A lot of times in Angular, you're going to generate components, modules, pipes, and a lot of things that Angular CLI does. So the usual way people do is by going to terminal and generating a component. For example, ngg component, and then the name of the component, let's say my component. Enter, and that will generate your component. And you can see that here we got the component. But, well, let's say you have a huge project and you want to generate a component into some folder, which is like a child of many folders. So the way you can do that is by just right-clicking, go to New, and here we have 2 buttons, Angular Dependencies, Angular Schematics. So first, click on Angular Schematics, and in this window, you will see you have a lot of options that CLI provides. For example, here we got this component option, directive, enum, guard, interceptor. So pretty much everything is here what you do in your Angular. So I'm going to create a component, double click on that, and that will ask for a name. So I'll say my second component, enter, and that will basically run the same ng-generate component my second command for you, depending on the folder that you selected. So within this my second, I'm going to right click in this folder now, and then generate another component like that. I'll say test. Enter, not skip test, but test. And you can see you could actually also pass in some flags if you understand Angular CLI. Enter, and then you will see your test is actually generated inside my second. So this way, easily you can create some Angular specific things within the specific folder. So you don't have to specify the path down there. So I'm actually going to remove these 2 folders. Just press delete, and it'll ask you whether you want to delete them. 2 directories, click on delete, and that's it. So that is Angular Schematics that basically help you to generate things very, very easily. The way I generate this by using action. So let's go to action and just search for Angular Schematic, select component, name it, let's say my component, enter, and there you go. I didn't have to use the mouse at all. Now, another shortcut key that I would like you to set up is context menu. Context menu is basically right click. Sometimes I need to go to a specific area on Webstorm and then right click to see the menu. So this is like context menu. That is a term in IntelliJ or JetBrains IDE. A lot of times you have to perform some actions by right clicking on the things, and reaching for a mouse will, waste my time. So what I'll do is for example, I'll go to project window. I'll go use the arrow keys on the keyboard, and then I want to right click on that particular folder. So what I'll do, I'll use my shortcut key to bring up the context menu or right click menu and then perform some actions. For example, if I want to open this in the Finder, I'll go and open that in the Finder, and there you go. That's what I have. Now back to Webstorm. I will go ahead and then open this folder in terminal. A lot of times when you're working in a project, you have different folders you want to open in terminal. So easily and quickly, you can use keyboard to bring up context menu. And context menu is going to work wherever you are. That is context menu. Very, very useful. I use it with actions and context menu all the time. These are common operations we do as a developers is look for files in our code. Let's take a look at how we do that in Webstorm. So let's say if I go to project tool window, you can see I'm highlighting those files and I can actually just start typing, for example, package.json. And I can go and press enter and that will open this file for me. But this is not a very common way to do it because there's going to be thousands of files in your project and you're not going to be able to find those files by just going and scrolling down and up to look for a file. So there's a shortcut key to search for files, which is Command Option O. This is the same pop-up that you get when you get to actions. So you can switch between these tabs within this pop-up. So let's say if I open actions and I want to go to files, I can press Command Shift and this bracket key to switch between these tabs. So we want to search for a file. So I'll directly go to the files because that's the quick and easy way, because this is very common operation that you're going to be doing a lot. So let's say app component, and you can see that it actually showing me the app component here. I can click on that or press enter right there to go to that file. Now also, when you are searching for files, now this time I'm going to use a mouse. So you can see here, there's a little button here for filter. Click on that. You can actually filter out the files. So let's say you got big project, different types of files there, and this is getting very cluttered. For example, if I type L here, you'll see all these node modules files are coming in as well. For example, these files are not really part of my project. They're just like packages in node module. So I don't want to use those. So what I could do, I could actually filter them out. Here you can see it says project files. You can click on that. You can go to all places, which is like anything, any file that has this app word will be visible here, which can be a little bit cluttered. So I'll always keep that to project files. Now here you can filter out some files as well. For example, if I don't want to see TypeScript files, I can go here and search for TypeScript. Actually, I'm not typing there. So I've got to manually go and look for TypeScript file. Here's it. I'll uncheck this and I'll just go back, search for the app component. Now this time I can see other files related to app, but can't see the TypeScript files. This is another great way to filter out files. I'm just going to go back and click on all because I want to just search for all the files. So that's how you do filtering. That's how you open files in Webstorm very, very efficiently. Make sure you set up a shortcut key to open files. Okay, so that's open files. Now we get back to dependencies. I'm going to go to the context menu in the project, and I'm going to go to, let's say, context menu in the project, and we go to new, and here we got this Angular dependencies. Now, there was another thing added in Angular version 6, which is ng-add, which is basically schematics in Angular. So you can see there's a lot of schematics available, and you can just install them by using this Angular dependency button. So for example, if you want to look for material, I'm going to start typing material, and you'll see here we have this Angular material. I'm going to just click on that, and this command will take care of my Angular material installation. So press Y, enter, and now it's installing all the packages and setting up Angular material with my Angular project. So take a look at what you have. You can go to file menu, actually not file menu, but right click here. That'll give you this Angular dependencies and just take a look at what you need. There's a lot of things available here. For example, this Angular Fire, which is a schematic for working with Angular and Firebase. Okay, very, very easily. Capacitor is here. That's another one of my favorite. Dependency. Now, we're in the command. We need to select the theme. I'll just go with indigo pink. So, yes. And now it's installing packages. That's our search file. Now, a lot of times, you're going to perform some actions. For example, searching files plus actions. So this way, Webstorm provides a global key, which will trigger that pop-up window. I'll press double shift and that'll give me this with all selected. So here I can search for app component, but not just app component in terms of files. It is going to show me all the options that are available in Webstorm related to this text app. For example, if I go to navigation bar, turn it off, turn it back on. Status bar on, status bar off. So you see it says appearance. Now you can pretty much move all sort of windows. So for example, if I go to project window, I will go to actions and I'll say view mode, and I can click on this view mode and then take a look at these view modes that we have. I'll switch to window, and now you can see this is actually a window mode now in Webstorm. So I can just drag it and move it anywhere. This is not part of this Webstorm window, so I can just leave it anywhere on a second monitor if you have, or you want to leave it inside. It's up to you. So while we were learning about dependency, we also learned everything in Webstorm is basically a window based. For example, if you want to take a terminal to a window, you can do that as well. So I'm actually going to click on these little dots here and then go to view mode and then say dock pin. That'll put it back where it was. Now, a lot of times you will go and create a window for a terminal and leave it on a second monitor. My development workflow is 3 monitors, and I keep 1 monitor for debugging window and then terminal window. And second one is like my coding. And then third one is any services like Kubernetes I'm running. That is very, very useful. So let me switch it back to docked pin. Okay, so every tool window can be converted into just a general window. Now, we have got this material. We talked about that. Now it's time for us to set up, commands in. Next, let's take a look at how do I set up NPM scripts in Webstorm. So we have a separate tab for NPM. If you click on that, you will see all the node package scripts here. And we go to package.json, and here we got all the scripts there. Now, Webstorm will automatically read this file and create a scripts for you. But again, I want to show you how you can set it up in the configuration. Very, very easy. In this package.json, you can see before these scripts, you have this play button. I'll click on that, and there's 2 options here, ng run or debug ng. I'll just go with the run. And now you can see it is actually running that script for me, but also it created a configuration right here. Okay, so now we can go and create ng build configuration. And we have 2 configurations now, build and ng. We can also create a configuration for test. Okay, and here's a button for stopping all of them. Click on that and then click on stop all. Now no service is running. Now the benefit of this is using a shortcut key. I'll use Control Option R, and that'll give me this run window where I can actually run any of these scripts by just using a shortcut key. So I want to run this ng, but I want to run it with debug option. Click on that, and then it will bring up this debugger window and also will run it. Now here we got some problems here. It says waiting for debugger to disconnect. Something is not right. That's why it's not running, but we'll figure out. Probably it is already running the something on that port. So that's the configuration. Now let's go and run our project. So I'm going to do ng serve. Okay. It is going to run the project. Going to go through the build phase because it's the first time I'm running it. So let's wait for that. Okay, so the project is successfully compiled. I am going to go take a look at it in the browser. So here in the Chrome, I can see I'm running this on localhost 4200. Let's go back to the Webstorm. And here now we got these scripts which we can basically use to run application very, very easily. Next, we are going to take a look at how do we add some snippets in terms of Angular. So I'm going to go and delete this my component file. And I'm going to go and right click on this and then go and create new file. I'm going to say my second.component.ts. create this file. Let me add that to the Git as well. Let's zoom in a bit, hide the terminal. Now, Angular provides, sorry, not Angular, but Webstorm provides snippets as well for Angular. So tap A dash, and then here you will see all sort of snippets that you can choose from. For example, if you're creating a component, we go with this component. We have two other options, component inline or root. So I will use this inline component. Enter, and you will see we are going to say my second. It's actually giving me suggestions. I'll just use that one and remove this. As you can see how easy it was to create a component. Now also, we're going to go into template, and I'm going to generate a div here. So let's generate a div, and I'll use div, and I'll type ng if. Now here we have this Angular specific suggestion that we can press enter, but also there is a template that you can use. So you type a-ng if. So it says Angular ng if. Enter, and that will give me this full expression as well. So I'd say if true, then generate this hello world. Okay. Webstorm also allows us to add our custom snippets. I'm going to go to Preference, and I'm going to go to Editor and click on Live Templates. And here you can see, if I collapse this, here we got Angular, AngularJS, Dart, Handlebar, XML, and there's a lot of other things that are available in Webstorm like React. But I'm going to click on Angular, and here is like live templates that by default Webstorm provides. So what you can do is you can basically create your own. For example, here is a component, and I've actually created one before. So I'm going to find this my service. Yeah, that's the one. And I'm going to delete this one. Okay, and I'm going to copy a service code. So let's just copy that. And I'm going to go to this button and click on that and click on Live Template. Now I'm going to right click and change the context. So this is going to be a TypeScript file. Click OK. And we're going to define a name for this. So let's go down. I'm going to paste that service code there. And for abbreviation, we just simply say my service. We'll go and reformat according to the style, edit variables. And here we want to make sure this is going to be the path. And let's say that is the path. Click OK. And then click here. And here we got this TypeScript. Okay. Let's click apply. Click OK. Now let's go ahead and create a new file. I'm going to just simply create a file. Let's say my service.service.ts. Add it. And I'm going to start typing my service. Enter, and you will see the Angular service. Now this is because I copied this code. So let's say you want to create your custom code snippet and you want to reuse it. You can do that with a live template. Next topic is very important. We're going to learn how do we debug Angular application using Webstorm. First of all, I'm going to go to terminal and I'm going to type ng serve -- no open. So I basically don't want to open any browser. So let's wait for this to finish. Then we're going to go to edit configuration, and I'm going to click on this plus button. And here you want to look for JavaScript debug. And I'm going to name this to debug Angular app. And let's just wait for the URL to come live. So here we got this localhost 4200. That's where our application is running. And we want to paste that here. 4200. And you can select the browser. Right now, it's only available for Chrome. But you can click on three dots. And you have an option for Safari, Opera, Yandex, Firefox. But I'll stick to Chrome. Okay, now let's apply. And then click OK. Now this time, because you created this JavaScript debugger, you don't want to run it. Instead, you want to click on this debug button. I'm going to click on that, and this is going to do two things. First of all, it is going to bring up this tool window, which is a debug tool window. And it is also going to bring up this Chrome browser. I'm going to go and write some code. So in our app component, let's try to, first of all, take a look at app module. We don't have that component there. That's good. Let's get rid of this, get rid of that as well. We're going to click OK. And now I'm going to go to app component TypeScript file. And here I'm going to create a function. Let's say get debugger. All right. And I'm going to say console.log. And here we just say hello world. All right. Let me save the file and you'll see the debugger is running. Also, what I want to do is click on these three dots and I'm going to move that to top right. Okay. So this way I can see the debugger window and I can also see the Chrome, which I'm going to move to the right. All right. So let's go to app component HTML file. Let's get rid of everything. And I'm going to just create a div. And inside div, I'm going to create a button. Let's create a button for Angular. And we're going to import that there as well. Actually, not the button, toggle. So let's click OK. Let me just zoom in a bit so you guys can see it. Let's get rid of this. And I'm going to say mat.button. And let's just say toggle button, for example. Let's see what we have there. Hello. Save it. Let's open the Chrome. And we can see we got this button there, hello. Let's refresh. And here we have that button. Okay. Now I'm going to click on that button. It doesn't do anything, right? So what I'm going to do is call a click event on it. Not this one, but this Angular specific click event. And we're going to say get debugger. All right. Now, one more thing I want to do is go to your app component and I'm going to do a breakpoint. So if I just click here, that will, toggle on this breakpoint. But you can also go to actions and you can say toggle line breakpoint. So here I've got some shortcut keys set up for me. So if I press this shortcut key, it is going to toggle the breakpoint as well. Now let's say I go to Chrome and I'm going to click on the button. Once I click on the button, you will see we have that debugger triggered. And I can see now here I've got the variables and that's the debugger right now. So I'm going to click on this button and you will see it is going to debug on this. Also, let's create a variable. Wow. Debugger. Okay. And I'm going to just let it go by clicking on this little button there. That's a resume program. Let's take a look at the Chrome. Click on that. Now we got the debugger and you can see the live template. So let me just make a bit of space. You can see here, it is telling you what is the current value in the memory for this variable. Click on that and you can see the value. Right now, you have the value here, but you also have pretty much everything about your program live in this window. Here we got this local variable A, which has a value of debugger. So now I'm able to debug pretty much the whole JavaScript right in my IDE. And the best part about this is that you can write code and you can start debugging. You don't have to open a Chrome browser or Chrome debugger tool to be able to start debugging, which is okay, but it's like switching to a different application to do all that debugging. There are a lot of options in debugger tools which are hard to cover. That requires a separate video. So I will not be able to cover that completely. But here you can basically do all sort of debugging in Webstorm. And you can basically use keyboard shortcut, which will fast track your workflow. I'm going to go back to the edit configuration. And here we will have an option for comma and just test as well. So if you look at Angular by default set up comma, which is a test runner. And also it has a Jest, which is like your testing framework. And you can basically add a configuration for those and you can do debugging on the test as well, which is great. So make sure to check that out as well. All right, next up, we're going to take a look at some of the services that we have. So right now I'm going to open services tab and here we have services. Click on add service and you can do Docker connection, a Kubernetes connection. It depends on what plugins and what services your project requires. By default, I have a Docker installed on the computer. That's why I'm getting this option, Docker connection and Kubernetes connection. But if you have more plugins installed, then you will have more services to choose from. Next, let's take a look at some of the code snippets that Webstorm can generate for you, whether it's a JavaScript file or a TypeScript file. I'm going to select this console log and I'm going to press Command Option T on the keyboard. Once you do that, this will bring up this pop-up called surrounds with. So let's say the common operation that you do, you select your expression or statement and you want to put that into if statement. So what I'll do, I'll just press enter here and you can see it automatically put that into if statement, and now I can say if true. Okay. Now if I go and select this again surrounds with, then you can create a function out of it. Okay, how easy is that? You can do basically whatever is provided. So it actually reads that thing for you, and this is very, very useful because a lot of times you have a full function and within the function you have multiple statements that you want to wrap around with if. That could take a few seconds to actually write manually, and you have to deal with, if you have deleted this, square curly brackets are not around it. So it will basically fast track your workflow. Now, along with this, you get to see a generate. So if you click on that generate, for example, if I go and generate, here we have this getters and setters, and we got this title property. We're going to click OK, and that will generate for me this setter function and getter functions, even though the property is set to as private now because it's not available outside the scope of this app component. Next, we talk about the diagram that you can generate for your dependencies. For example, here is our source folder. I'm going to right click on it and go to this diagram section and click on this short diagram pop-up. Click on that. It is going to read your code and it's going to generate this diagram for you, which is like a dependency design. Here we got this module, and within this we can see what it links to. For example, here we got this main source file and then the app module. Then we have this test, and then we got this app component, which I'm looking at. This is the one. So you can see if you're working on somebody else's code and you want to take a look at how the code is structured, this is great. The JavaScript diagram is like amazing feature of JetBrains, or let's say IntelliJ-based IDEs. Now also, I'm going to show you one more thing with Angular related. So if you go and take a look at this Angular JSON file, this is very, very important because Angular configuration is available in this file, and Webstorm actually reads out this and suggests you if you want to basically add something and make any mistakes. So that's like advanced level understanding that Webstorm does with your Angular project. Now take a look at the refactoring capabilities of Webstorm. I can tell you now that there is no IDE out there which can beat this IDE. In terms of refactoring, if you go and take a look at this app component, I'm going to right click on this and then go to refactor, and then let's just say change name. Click on that and we're going to say main component. Okay, I press enter, and now as you can see, I just changed the class name, but Webstorm is asking me rename file. Do you also want to rename file and its usage to main component? If I do that yes, then you will notice here what happened. We got the whole component renamed. We got main component.ts, main component.spec.ts, main component.html file, and a CSS file. And if you look at app module file, you will notice that it automatically changed its import, also the name in app module. So you can see how much capable Webstorm is to do the refactoring. So it actually knows that this class is a component class, and it links to this HTML file and the CSS file, and it is specified in app module as well. So now this demo will show you that the refactoring capability is like the best. It's like the best out there available. So that's like a refactoring. You can take a look at what other refactoring can be done using Webstorm. For example, if you right click on the file, you can do move file, copy file, save, delete. I'm going to find out all the refactoring options. Take a look at this menu. So here you have this refactor this. That'll give you an options depending on where your cursor is in the code. So that is refactoring. Take a look at this run. Here we got all sort of options, like for example, we have one debugger, second debugger, third debugger. And if you want to take a look at where the debuggers are, so click on this view breakpoints, not debuggers, but view breakpoints. And here's let me just zoom out a bit. So here's the breakpoints list, and you can switch between. To also show you the bookmark capabilities. So if I press F3, 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 again, Command F3 will give us this pop-up, which will basically list out the bookmarks that we have in our code. Right now we don't have just one, so that's why it had just one. So basically, if you're working on the big project, in different parts of the project, let me zoom in a bit. Let's zoom in. I'm going to press F3 and F3 here. Let's go to main and F3. So all, it's actually F3. Click here, F3. Now if I press Command F3, here's a list of bookmarks that we have in our code. You can right click on them or just press enter. It will take you to that point. So it's very, very handy when you're working on different parts of code and you want to remember those, then you can just bookmark those. We have this to-do tool window, which basically will show you all the to-dos that you have in your code. You're working on the code today and you want to fix something later and you want to remember that you have some sort of like fix to do, then you can actually do a to-do. So what you can do is / and type to-do, and say, I will fix this later. You see the different color. It's not like a common. Webstorm is actually going to remember this to-do word. And if I look at this to-do window, you can see found one to-do in item in one file. Click on that and you'll see it says to-do, I will fix this later. So basically you have all the to-dos, or maybe if you want to work in a team and you want to just remember what to-dos are there for the fix in the code for your team. So you can just basically write to-dos. Very, very handy to remember things and write message and with the fix probably. So that's to-dos. Next, we take a look at scratches on consoles. Now, this is very, very unique to IntelliJ. I would like to create a file which I don't want that to be part of this project. And I want to use that file to write notes or write some, just a general code for testing or write something about your code. So what you can do is you can go to File menu, New, and then you can create a Scratch file. If I take a look at Scratch file here, and that's the option Command-Shift-N, Scratch file, and you can choose the Scratch file type as well, depending on the ID, like Webstorm or PHPStorm or IntelliJ. So I would like to create a JSON file. And here, if I create some sort of like a JSON here, let's say, hello, and you can see Webstorm is auto indenting, and also it's fixing the double quotes for the JSON. So this file is actually not the part of my code. It is going to be listed here. That's the scratch. So a lot of times you are writing code and those become code snippets and those are reusable and you want to remember those for later project or different project. You can basically write them in the scratches in different types of files, and these scratches will be available in every project you open in Webstorm. It is not going to belong to this project. Okay, so you can write scratches here, which are great to remember things depending on what project you're working on overall your workflow. So you can create as many as scratches you want with different types. For example, I'll create this TypeScript file, and here I would like to create some functions. So I will go to function, and I'll just create a function which will do something. Right, and I want to use this in the different projects, and I can just put them into Scratch, and I will just remember those. All right, this is not the right function statement in TypeScript file, so that's why it gives error. But these scratches are not part of your project. That's the main thing. These are just the notepads or text that you want to remember, or you want to just write down a place to write down something without breaking your code. Webstorm also have SSH and SFTP capabilities as well. So you go to Tools. You go to the Start SSH session. Here I'll type some IP address. I'm not sure what IP address that is valid, but here you can SSH into any computer, and then also you could go and click on this deployment and click on configuration and click here and then say SFTP. I'll say local server, enter, and you can specify the SSH connection that you have, and then this will give you the full browser window that you can work on your server. So Webstorm will help you to, fix something on the server as well, or copy paste files on the server as well. And this option is very hard to find in IDEs. If there is any in VS Code, the extension can do, but that's not going to be as good as this is. This is very stable stuff. So SSH connection and SFTP is built into Webstorm, which is, let's say we are going to work on a front-end application and Angular is used for front-end applications. You might want to do an API call to your backend server, and to run your code and then clicking on the button could take a lot of time. That's why I would say HTTP client is very useful, and HTTP client is actually built into Webstorm. So if I click on this create request in HTTP client, it will create this file for us, which is REST API HTTP, and then here you can basically run API calls right here, and this has a full control for JavaScript. So you can control your responses, your requests, you can run the tests right here, you can validate your data being just sent back from your server. So this is really big. I've already done a video on this, how to use this, and this is like one of the best options because it gives you shortcut keys. You don't have to switch to an application. That's a takeaway from here. In tools, that's about it at the basic level, but trust me, there's a lot that we can talk about, but I don't have time and it's going to be very long for this video. Take a look at these options, which are very, very important with your code inspection, code cleanup, silent code cleanup. So if you have any issues or something is not right with your code, well, you can do an inspection for your code. So if I go inspect code, I'll say whole project, click OK, and Webstorm will inspect the code and it will give us warnings, errors, and typos. JavaScript and TypeScript. So here's a section which we are interested in, right? So I'm going to click on this one. I'm going to go to main component and see what it's saying to us. It says warning. Click here. It says unused property title. So it is going to tell us that this property has not been used. At this stage, this code is very small, one component and one module. But as your code grows, you want to keep inspecting your code and make sure whatever the warning and errors, not errors, I would say warnings that TypeScript inspector gives you in Webstorm, make sure you follow that and keep your code clean. And this is really advanced level inspecting. Let's go back to the code menu, and here you have some of the other options like run inspection by name. So you can run inspection by name. You can just keep a history of it. This was the inspection, and this will keep the record for you. We have this project error that you can see all the errors that are TypeScript related errors. In that, you can see the warnings in the current file. You don't have to run the inspection for that, but it's just going to be always looking for that. So in the code, take a look at these. These are really great options to, fix things. For example, let me give you a quick demo. All right, let's go to my app module. All right, so here we got some modules. We got a main component. Now let's say I've got these imports. I'm going to just get rid of all the imports. Now, once I do that, you see a lot of errors and our application is not running anymore. So usually you will have to go and fix the imports one by one. But what I'm going to do is click on that, and I'm going to press a shortcut key. Here is an option that is given by Webstorm. So I'm going to press Option Enter, and here it says Add Import Statement. So click on that, and that will add an import statement for this. But the cool thing about this, if I press Option Shift Enter, it will fix all the imports for me. So as you can see, it automatically imported everything for me. I didn't have to remember where the main component is or where is the button toggle coming from in material library. So that is really amazing. You can see the power coming out from Webstorm for Angular projects. So imports automatically done. Next option in Webstorm we're going to take a look at is recent location and recent history. So if you press Command-Shift-E, this will give you this pop-up and it will show you all the recent places that you just visited in your code. This is very handy when you are working on a big project and you don't know where you were and you want to just quickly take a look at, okay, I was on this function which I'm fixing something on that, and then you want to move to another function. This is very, very handy. Click on that and that'll take you to that particular part of your code. Also, if you right click, there is an option for local history. Here I can go to main component.typescript file. Let's zoom out a bit and minimize this tool window. Right click, go to local history and show history. Here you can see all the changes that I did over time to this file. This is very, very handy as well. Now also Git has the history stuff, but you have to commit and then you know the history, right? But this is a local history that you don't have to commit your code and you can see what other changes you did. You can right click and go back to that position. So you click on revert and that will take your code to that particular part. So here's your app component now. Now we're gonna get an error, I guess, because the file name hasn't been refactored. So let's undo that. Okay, so local history is another very, very great thing. Now let's take a look at some of the options in folding. Let's say you have a very large file, and when you have a large file and you scroll to your file, it's very hard to find things and you need some sort of like an overview of the file. What you can do is you can actually just fold everything, every function, every property, and you can click on that and it will basically only expand that bit of code, not the whole file. So you can basically make it look like a clean file that you only see certain functions, not everything else. And it's gonna just make you, look at your file in a clean way, not a clutter way, so you don't know where things were, and you can switch to that particular function or property very, very easily. Also, we have this structure thing in the Webstorm. So if I press Command F12, you'll see this pop up here. Will give you an overview of your file. So I have this get debugger function, return type is void, title property and underscore title property as well. So this is great to take a look at what your file is all about, how many properties and functions are there, and you can just fold them like that and just expand them, whatever you need. And that will make your file a lot less, or shrink your file and only make sure that it shows whatever you need at that particular time. Alright, so this is the end of this Webstorm adventure for Angular developers. Well, I should have said Angular developers. We covered all the general options as well. Just to write better JavaScript with TypeScript, it's going to help you a lot and write code faster and make you focus on things that matter instead of just writing if statement. You can just generate if statement very, very quickly. So the takeaway from this video is how you spend less time on using your IDE and using your computer than thinking about logic and the code that you need. So if you need a class file, you don't really need to write export class in the class name. You just generate it with Webstorm and only focus on the code that matters to your application. And I'm really heavy on shortcuts. I rarely touch my mouse. I basically operate this Webstorm completely from keyboard. Everything's available through actions. You can do pretty much all sort of options using keyboard. So make sure you take a look at what options available for setting up a keyboard shortcuts. The last bit I want to show you here is this application. If you're a developer and you're using Mac computer, and don't tell me you don't have this Better Touch tool. Just to mention, this is not sponsored video from Better Touch tool or from Webstorm at all. This is my daily, workflow that I'm showing you. Right now, if you look at this IntelliJ, I use IntelliJ, not Webstorm, for pretty much all the development. So here's the option R key, which sends the shortcut key to Chrome. So I actually control my Chrome browser while being in IntelliJ or Webstorm. So take a look at this one. It has a lot of options for keyboard shortcuts and customizing your workflow. Now, a couple of other things I would like to show you is, instead of rewriting your scripts, and typing them into command line, sometimes you have multiple scripts to run to execute certain tasks. Last option I quickly touch base before we finish this video is this little icon. Let me zoom into it. So it says code with me. That basically allows you to collaborate on your code. So if you want to allow somebody to actually take a look at your code, maybe work on that, you want to start the conversation on that, you can actually use this extension built into Webstorm where you can say enable access and copy invitation link. So simply enable access, copy link. I have not used it, so that's why it's just not really set up ready. But here you can select 3 options. Read only, edit files, full access. If you give a full access, this will actually allow anybody joining this session to your computer. If somebody have an access to your terminal, then they can do damage to your computer. So it's basically saying guests have full access control over your machine, allowing to join trusted guests only. So I'll just say edit files. They can only edit files in this project, not full access to my computer. So this is a great extension. You can start a video call. You can also start like just an audio call. So yeah, it's really, really good. It's going to help you to collaborate or maybe take suggestions from a senior developer in your code. So you don't have to screen share. You don't have to worry about, hey, listen to me, go there, click here, click there. So you can just give them access to your code right away, and then they can start modifying the code for you. So this is another option. Now, lastly, if you like this video, make sure to subscribe to the channel and like this video by giving a thumbs up or hitting that button. Also, hit the bell icon if you don't want to miss out for the future videos about just development. So yeah, take a look at my Angular course if you're interested in learning Angular. And yeah, I really enjoyed creating this video, and I hope you enjoyed watching this course as well. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you guys in the next video. Cheers, bye, and be safe.